Hello, all heroes, and welcome back to Invincible Guarding the Globe. And it is Defender Week once again in the arena, so we are going to be going over that. Before we get started, though, if you do enjoy the video and my content, feel free to go down below and subscribe if you have not already, and become a member if you would like to support me further. Would always be greatly appreciated. So, let's talk about this week's restricted arena. Now, we've had this arena before. I checked, it was about 3 to 4 months ago, give or take. And this is a defender arena, which means that you can only use defender characters. Now, the interesting thing with defender characters is that compared to attackers or supports, the defender catalog is actually surprisingly limp. There's not a lot going on here, actually. You've got honestly, I shouldn't even count Flaxen Leader or Black Samson if we're being honest. So you've really got about 6 usable options, with 2 of them being Viltrumites. So it's slim pickings in here, if we're being totally honest. But since the last Defenders Arena, we have had a lot more Conquest events. Conquest has rolled around a few times now, especially considering that extremely nice Conquest event that was based around his release as a GDA file character that you could get like 40 freaking conquests for next to nothing. That was a pretty good day. So Conquest is a little more common nowadays. So we're going to talk about it and see what we have here. First of all, starting with the man himself, Conquest. Conquest is pretty much the only thing that keeps this fight from being an immovable object versus an immovable object, because unlike most defenders, Conquest does damage. Conquest is basically an attacker. Conquest is an attacker in a defender's body. This dude does damage, which, I mean, is actually very on brand for him. Not only does he have the ability to break through immunity barriers, which is very helpful for your immortals, because the immortal is a defender, but if he's thrown in there with a leader, he gets a massive boost to his attack based off of his already very impressive defense. This ability is very good because it can shut people down and give himself a shield, and every few seconds he can basically just shake off debuffs and really punish the enemy for debuffing him in the first place. Tons of good damage, especially if you give him the trash bag. The trash bag is a favorite of Conquest mains. I've been using the Burger Mart Burger for my own reasons, but the trash bag basically does damage scaling off of defense, of which he has plenty. So yeah, Conquest is going to be a mainstay. Next, I'm going to give some love to Alan the Alien. Alan is the best defender in the game. I feel very safe saying that. Conquest puts up an honest fight. I'll say this. Conquest and Alan really fight for that defender category, but honestly, the only reason that I would say Alan is better than Conquest is that Conquest is a little more of a bruiser, whereas Alan is a true defender. He's got a taunt on his main ability here, that if you get it powered up all the way, can go up to 5 seconds, which is not horrible, considering it's a 16-second cooldown. This in particular is good when fighting against heroes from not of this earth. He does increase allies' stats, both their resistance and their damage, by a noteworthy amount, which, you know, you'll be fighting against other Allans who are not of this earth, so, you know, big win on that one. And then he can keep himself alive whenever he goes down to 1 HP. He basically gets an emergency heal for a good chunk of time that can keep him in the fight for dramatically longer and even win some games every now and then. After him, we'll talk about Monster Girl. Monster Girl is like discount Conquest. Back in the day when the game first came out, Monster Girl was top of the heap. Not so much now because she is a bruiser, not unlike Conquest, just not quite as good of a bruiser. She does damage. This ability is pretty decent. It stuns enemies for a little bit. It's not a chunky stun. In fact, it's I mean, a 0.25%, a 0.25 second stun is, it's basically just meant to animation cancel more than anything else, but whatever. This one is pretty good though, where the more damage, the more health she has, the more damage she does. That's not too bad. And then she can dispel enemy shields with her basic attacks, which is in a defender arena actually does mean something because there are a few defenders who do have shields. So that is worth mentioning. After her is the Immortal. The Immortal is a great tank. I will not be using him because, as you've seen, I do not have the man built. So there's that. That's a personal flaw. I just not have a desire to build the Immortal, especially when Conquest is right there. Um, However, the Immortal is very good, especially if you get his shared healing ability up to level 10, because then it is always active, and his self-healing will skyrocket. And of course, not unlike Invincible, he does have an immunity shield which will protect him, barring the occasional Conquest blast through, which can happen. But barring that, he can keep the team very nice and safe, because for 5 seconds he just won't take any damage, which is pretty good. And then I will give an honorable mention to Lucan just because, okay, it's like, and this is the point of the restricted arena. It's like, in a restricted arena, even the worst character can be king in the best circumstances. And in a defender arena, Lucan is okay. He does pretty decent damage with his Viltrumite, still makes right. He can push enemies here, which is not too bad. With some halfway decent damage, and reduce their defense if you have the ability powered up. And the defense boost is not nothing. It's not ideal, but not nothing. And then his final little death, his little death burst here, where when he dies, he'll do one more good attack based on his HP. If you get this powered up, I can see it actually doing okay. I can see it doing okay. Lucan is not a good character, but when your options are this limited, even a not great character can be usable. Now, of course, you will notice Black Samson and Flaxen Leader up here. And you of course have Tether Tyrant as well. And then there's Titan. I keep forgetting about Titan because, quite frankly, Titan is kind of in the same situation as Lucan, where he's not ideal, but in this limited arena, he works just fine. And that's a little unfair to Titan. Titan's not actually that bad. He does get a taunt and some shielding from his main ability. He can stun people with his Earthquake fairly often, and he does increase his defense for every chunk of HP that he is missing. I give Titan a lot of flack, not so much because he's bad, but because he just doesn't keep up with some of the other characters, especially in a post-Conquest world. But it is one thing that is worth mentioning. You do need to make sure you bring a leader if you are running Conquest. When there's a leader ally present in the team, he gets his stats. You want that. So you do want to bring either Titan, he is a leader, or the Immortal, he is a leader as well. Or if you absolutely have to, and I mean absolutely no options left, have to, you can bring Flaxen Leader as well, because as the name suggests, he is in fact a leader. That would count. Heaven help you if you have to bring Flaxen Leader, but you know what? You work with what you got. So basically, here's what my team's going to look like. My team's going to look like Conquest, Titan for the leader buff, Alan, Monster Girl, and Black Samson. Black Samson kind of sneaks in here. Not because of he's good, but because, well, I have him powered up for the sake of the case file. He's not ideal. He can keep himself kind of alive. Again, if I had the Immortal or even Lucan powered up, I'd sub them in a heartbeat. But the simple fact of the matter is that just going off of raw stats, Black Samson's powered up and they are not. So he's the one I'm going to use. So yeah, in fact, what I'll do here, just to really set myself up for success here, we'll slap the trash bag on him just for something there. But like I said, my biggies are going to be Conquest, of course. Alan and Monster Girl, and Titan will actually do okay because, to his credit, I actually do have him powered up. Now, here's the thing with this arena that makes it a little quirky, is it's defenders who are meant to be tanky and, with the exception of Conquest, not deal a lot of damage, versus defenders who have the same traits. This means that, like I said before, it's just kind of a situation of an immovable object versus an immovable object. They're never going to break. but also they're never going to break. Expect a lot of ties, is what I'm saying here. The tiebreaker feature will probably trigger early and often for you, unless your conquest is truly mopping the floor with them, or if your stat difference is just that insane, which can happen. It can happen. Sometimes the stat difference is just that crazy to where you can still punch through them. But unless your conquest is doing something absolutely crazy, expect some long fights and expect some tiebreakers. Like you'll see, we're at the 40-second mark here, and we're both still chilling at just a little under half HP. Now I do think I am winning this, but it's not for lack of trying on the enemy part. And frankly, this battle just goes so slow that it's hard to even tell. Alan can be a problem. Alan can be a big problem because he can heal, but here you go. Yep, see, we're about to hit. And bam, tiebreaker. Now, thankfully, we were able to pull ahead. I suspect my conquest did the vast majority of that. Let's take a peek here. Yeah, okay, no surprises there. My conquest did a metric ton of damage. Partially because he is the strongest on my team by a noteworthy margin, but also just because, like, once you get the buff from Titan, as long as Titan's alive and he's getting that leader buff, yeah, no, he is, like I said, he's an attacker in a defender's body, which means he will do a lot of work. Now this team here in the middle, J-Mix, I probably can't beat this just because the high stat Allen will outlast me. That level 1000 Allen, I do not have anything close to touch that. This one, on the other hand, with the over 1000 Monster Girl, I'm not nearly as scared of Monster Girl as I am of Alan, but let's see. We'll see. But yeah, like I said, this arena is kind of grueling. It's not my favorite arena, if I'm being totally honest. Just because it is so blanking slow. It is sluggish. Because, like I said, it's an immovable object fighting an immovable object. Any health differences happen slow. Really, really slow. Now, hey, you know what? Maybe you got your Alan absolutely jacked up. Or maybe you have a Monster Girl absolutely jacked up from the old days when she was meta. In that case, you're probably going to have a really good time. If you got some of those older legacy defenders that maybe, or not even legacy defenders, but like Monster Girl who used to kind of have a lot of time in the sun, if you have her powered up in a few stars, you might actually have a pretty good time. Or, if you really invested into your Immortal and Conquest, because the Immortal Conquest combo is pretty brutal, not gonna lie, that does work, you'll have a good time. But, even then, these battles are going to be sluggish. So, you know, hit play and then pop a hot pocket in the microwave, because your battle's going to be going for a minute. About a minute and a half, actually. So, yeah. Not my favorite arena, and not the most diverse arena, because it was recently brought to my attention that we don't actually have that many defenders, and we don't even have an Earth defender, which is ironic. Like, seriously, look at that. Boom, nothing. So, you know, I'm not going to get into that, but there's not a lot of defenders. This game has not been very nice to defenders. Since the game's full release, we've had 3 defenders in the form of Alan, Lucan, and Conquest. Whereas, you know, attackers, we get attackers out the butt, and support characters aren't too bad off either. So, yeah, it's kind of funny how that works. But yeah, defenders, if anything, this arena proves that defenders need a little bit more love. Because, you know, while Conquest is great and Alan is amazing, 2 good characters does not a good faction make, or a good unit type. We'll see. We could really use some more defenders, is all I'm saying there. For this arena, I'm probably not going to be participating a whole lot into it, because it just takes too blanking long. It's just, yeesh. And besides, what I'm going to do, what I can do, I can save my tickets for the upcoming From World Beyond arena next week, where my Viltrumites and my Universa will steam some ham on the enemy side of the field. So I'm looking forward to that one. Looking very forward to that one. So we're gonna veg. We're not gonna do anything too crazy. and we will look forward to that. So yeah, let me know what you think of this arena down in the comments below. Are you enjoying it? Did you have a massively cranked conquest or a monster girl that's just sweeping the floor? If so, let me know. If you did enjoy this video, feel free to subscribe and become a member if you want to support me further. And we shall see you next time. Have a good one.